Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something real. Success is not this mystery prize floating out in the universe waiting to drop in your lap one lucky day. No, success is attracted, not pursued. And it's attracted by the person you become. You want something to chase you? Make it success. But first, you got to change yourself. Success doesn't come by luck. It comes by personal transformation. That's the truth most people ignore because it's easier to believe that others are just lucky, born into the right family, or blessed with opportunities. But in reality, real success, lasting, fulfilling, meaningful success is a result of intentional growth and inner change. It's not about winning the lottery of life. It's about consistently showing up and evolving into the type of person who can handle success, manage success, and repeat success. That means success is not just a destination, it's a reflection of who you are becoming every single day. If you're not willing to change who you are, you'll never truly experience the kind of success that sticks. That success demands a better version of you, more disciplined, more focused, more determined, and more responsible. People often wait for something external to shift. They wait for a break, a raise, a connection, a moment of luck. But those who make it in life know that the real change happens inside first. If you want to move forward, you got to start by working on your mind. Your thinking patterns shape your actions. If you think small, you'll act small. If you carry fear, you'll make fearful decisions. If you don't believe you deserve better, you'll settle for less. That's why the first and most important transformation is mental. It's waking up every day and choosing to train your thoughts like you train a muscle, replacing doubt with faith, confusion with clarity, and weakness with strength. You build your mindset before you build your empire. Personal transformation also means changing your habits, not just your thoughts. What you do every day consistently creates your life. There's no way around that. You can't want success and keep living like someone who doesn't. You can't say you want to be a millionaire, but sleep till noon, waste time, ignore learning, and hang out with people who don't push you forward. Your life is always reflecting your habit. The moment you start changing the way you use your time, the way you respond to failure, the way you prioritize your energy, that's the moment your future begins to shift. Transformation happens when you stop entertaining excuses and start taking action that aligns with your goals. Another part of personal change is learning how to let go. That means letting go of toxic environments, negative people, past pain, and limiting beliefs. Success doesn't chase the person who's stuck in the past or surrounded by the wrong influences. It chases the person who is courageous enough to walk away from what no longer serves them. That might be uncomfortable, even lonely at times, but every version of your future requires the death of an older version of you. People who grow don't wait for perfect conditions. They move forward despite fear, despite failure, despite judgment. They take ownership of their life and accept full responsibility for their progress. Growth also requires discipline and delayed gratification. That's a hard pill to swallow in a world obsessed with quick results and overnight fame. But personal transformation is slow, quiet, often unnoticed by the world until one day the results become impossible to ignore. That's when success shows up, not as a reward for waiting, but as a mirror to the work you've done. Most people quit before they see it. They give up at the first sign of hardship or the first moment when things don't go their way. But those who change themselves from the inside out learn how to keep showing up regardless of how they feel. They stop relying on motivation and start building discipline. They stop needing applause and start living with purpose. They realize success is not something you chase, it's something you prepare for by becoming the person who deserves it. Self-discipline is the first step toward real success. Without it, talent is wasted, potential remains unrealized, and dreams become nothing more than wishful thinking. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your results. It is the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's waking up early when your bed feels warm, saying no to distractions when your mind wants comfort, and choosing long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Success isn't about being the smartest or the most gifted. It's about being consistent. And consistency is impossible without discipline. People who have achieved great things in life didn't get there because of luck. They got there because they mastered themselves first. They learned how to control their habits, emotions, responses, and time. Every time you exercise discipline, you are shaping the person you become and moving closer to your full potential. Most people think they lack motivation when what they actually lack is discipline. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It fades when you're tired, when you're stressed, or when results don't come fast enough. But discipline sticks. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't ask for your mood. It shows up and says, we're doing this anyway. And that's what separates those who wish from those who win. Discipline is what gets you to the gym when it's raining. It's what helps you study when everyone else is relaxing. It's what keeps your goals alive when life throws punches. The truth is, the stronger your discipline, the less you have to rely on willpower. You stop debating whether or not you should act, you just act. And that kind of mindset creates momentum. Once you start operating with discipline, you build trust with yourself, you no longer break promises to yourself. And that's powerful because the person who trusts themselves becomes unstoppable. Discipline also creates freedom. That sounds strange to some people, but it's the truth. When you're disciplined with your time, you free yourself from chaos. When you're disciplined with your finances, you free yourself from debt. When you're disciplined in your habits, you free yourself from regret. Success doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of deliberate choices made over and over again. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. And enough votes in the right direction will transform your life in ways you can't imagine. But most people won't do it because it's hard. And that's the point. Discipline is hard. If it were easy, everyone would be successful. But the truth is, discipline filters out the average from the excellent. It separates the people who say they want it from the people who prove it. The greats in every field have one thing in common. They do what needs to be done, no matter how they feel. That's not accidental. That's not natural talent. That's trained behavior. They've trained themselves to prioritize their mission over their mood. And that's available to anyone who is willing to make that choice. You can either be disciplined or be disappointed. You can either put in the work or live with the regret. Every day is a test. And every decision you make is either moving you closer to success or pulling you further away. There is no neutral. Self-discipline means saying no to easy and yes to effort. It means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. It means staying focused on your goals while the world is chasing comfort and distraction. That mindset doesn't your habits today shape your future tomorrow. Every action you take on a daily basis is like planting a seed. And those seeds grow into the results you will eventually live with. Whether you realize it or not, your routine is building your life. It's not just the big moments or once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that define who you become. It's the small, repeated behaviors that happen when no one is watching. The way you spend your mornings, the content you consume, the way you respond to stress, and the people you surround yourself with are all shaping your direction. If your habits are lazy, inconsistent, or based on emotion, your future will reflect that. On the other hand, if your habits are built around growth, discipline, and intention, your future will reward you. The truth is, success doesn't show up suddenly. It's built brick by brick through repeated disciplined actions taken over time. There are no shortcuts, no magic formulas, just habits formed through commitment and clarity. Most people underestimate the power of small daily actions. They think success is found in some big move, some dramatic change, some instant breakthrough. But in reality, it's in the small decisions made every day, choosing to read instead of scrolling, choosing to exercise instead of making excuses, choosing to save instead of spending impulsively, choosing to work on your goals instead of wasting time on things that bring no value. These choices may seem minor, but over time they create a massive difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck. Your habits are either serving you or sabotaging you. There is no in between. And if you want a different future, you've got to start by taking a hard look at your current routine. The life you're living today is a mirror of the habits you've been repeating. So the question is, are those habits leading you to the future you want? Changing your habits requires awareness and honesty. You have to be willing to admit where your current habits are holding you back. That might mean waking up earlier, cutting out toxic influences, reducing screen time, or committing to consistent action even when you don't feel like it. It's not easy. That's why most people avoid it. But if you want a life that's different from the crowd, you have to be willing to do what most won't. And that starts with building habits that reflect the person you want to become. Because the future is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of habits. You can't hope your way to a better life. You have to work your way there. And that work starts with the choices you make every single day. Habits don't just change your actions, they change your identity. When you start building a habit of discipline, you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. When you develop the habit of learning, you start to believe you're someone who grows. When you consistently show up for your goals, your confidence grows. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know you're becoming the kind of person who doesn't quit. That shift in identity is the real power of habits. It's not about doing something once. It's about doing it until it becomes part of who you are. That's how real change happens. Not through inspiration alone, but through transformation rooted in routine. You become your habits, and your future becomes the reflection of those habits. Every single day is a chance to either reinforce the life you want or delay it with choices that don't serve you. The question is not whether you're forming habits. The question is whether those habits are forming the future you dream about. You can't expect change if you're not willing to change yourself. So many people go through life hoping their circumstances will shift magically. They want better results, greater opportunities, more money, deeper relationships. But they refuse to look inward and take responsibility for their role in their own story. Real change does not start outside. It begins from within. Your life will never improve until you improve. The world will not treat you differently until you begin to carry yourself differently. That means letting go of the idea that your situation is someone else's fault or that your past determines your future. Change requires personal accountability, and it demands the courage to look in the mirror and say, if I want a new outcome, I have to become a new version of myself. Most people never do this because it's uncomfortable. It's easier to point fingers at external problems than to do the internal work that leads to transformation. Waiting for life to get easier before you take action is a losing game. The truth is, life doesn't get easier. You get stronger, wiser, more focused. But that only happens when you actively pursue change. It's not enough to dream or wish or talk about it. You have to be willing to unlearn bad habits, rebuild your mindset, and replace destructive patterns with productive ones. That might mean adjusting your attitude, breaking free from negative environments, or making decisions that others won't understand. The path to change is often lonely because it forces you to leave behind a version of yourself that's familiar, even if that version is holding you back. You can't upgrade your life while holding on to the habits, beliefs, and routines that built the current version of it. Growth demands sacrifice. It requires you to let go of who you've been so you can make room for who you are becoming. People often say they want success, but they're not willing to become the type of person success is attracted to. That means developing character, integrity, consistency, and grit. That means showing up when no one is watching, doing the hard work when it's inconvenient, and making tough choices that align with your long-term vision. If you keep reacting to life instead of creating your life, you will stay in the same cycles forever. The same struggles, the same problems, the same regrets. Change is not about doing something once. It's about becoming someone else completely. That version of you already exists, but you have to reach for it, work for it, fight for it. It will not come to you by chance. You must decide to grow into it by refusing to settle for less than you're capable of. Change also means facing your fears. Every next level of your life will demand a stronger version of you, and fear will always try to keep you where you are. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. But growth and comfort cannot live in the same place. You must choose. If you want a life that's different, you can't keep making the same choices. Every time you choose comfort over change, you delay your progress. Every time you make excuses instead of decisions, you stay stuck. The moment you begin to challenge yourself, to act in spite of fear, to speak life instead of doubt, to move with intention, you start to break through the limits that have been holding you back. And slowly, the changes you make on the inside begin to show on the outside. You can't control everything in life, but you can control your response, your attitude, your discipline, your effort. That's where real power lies, in choosing to take full ownership of your journey. You don't need to be perfect to change. You just need to be committed. You need to want it badly enough to stop settling, to stop waiting, to stop hoping things will magically improve. Change starts with a decision to stop repeating the past, a decision to stop blaming others, a decision to become someone better, stronger, wiser than you've ever been before. Because you cannot expect a new life with an old mindset, and you cannot expect a better future if you're not willing to evolve into a better version of yourself. Stop blaming circumstances, start building your mindset. One of the most common habits that holds people back from real success is the tendency to blame everything and everyone around them for where they are in life. They blame their past, their parents, the government, the economy, their lack of time, their lack of connections, or their bad luck. But the moment you blame something external, you give away your power. You put your future in the hands of something you cannot control. That's why people stay stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they keep waiting for life to change instead of choosing to change themselves. The most successful people in the world didn't get there because they had perfect circumstances. In fact, many of them started with far less than others, but they made a choice early on to take responsibility, to stop pointing fingers, and to start building the kind of mindset that will carry them forward no matter what life threw at them. As the A strong mindset is your greatest asset. It's more powerful than money, connections, or talent. Because no matter what you have, if your mind is weak, you will find a way to fail. But if your mind is strong, you will find a way to win. Even when the odds are against you, that's the difference between people who bounce back from failure and those who give up. A strong mindset doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you know how to think in a way that empowers you. You know how to take a hit and still move forward. You know how to turn pain into power and losses into lessons. And that kind of thinking doesn't happen by accident. It's built through intention. You build it by choosing to focus on growth instead of gossip, on learning instead of complaining, on action instead of excuses. Every day is an opportunity to either strengthen or weaken your mindset based on what you choose to feed it. Blaming circumstances will keep you small. It will keep you bitter. It will keep you blind to your own potential. But the moment you flip that switch and say it's on me, your life starts to shift. Because what you take ownership of, you can change. And what you blame, you stay stuck in. Your thoughts are the foundation of your reality. If you keep telling yourself the world is unfair, that you'll never make it, that success is only for others, you are programming your life to reflect those beliefs. But if you train your mind to think differently, to look for solutions, to believe in progress, to expect better, you begin to unlock doors that were always there. You just couldn't see them before. Your mindset creates your vision, and your vision guides your action. That's why it's not just about motivation or positive thinking. It's about reshaping the way you interpret everything in your life so you can respond from strength, not weakness. Life will always give you reasons to quit. Circumstances will never be perfect. Challenges will never fully disappear. But when your mindset is built on resilience, clarity, and purpose, you stop letting outside noise control your inside peace. You stop wasting energy on things you can control and start investing it into what you can. You begin to realize that even though you can't control the weather, you can control how you sail. And that mindset gives you power in every area of life. It allows you to lead yourself before you try to lead anyone else. It helps you break through fear because you know who you are and what you're capable of. It teaches you to respond with wisdom instead of emotion. And it shows you that the greatest battle is always between your ears. Build that mindset strong enough and no excuse will be able to hold you back. When you grow, your results follow. Success becomes automatic. The truth is, the level of your results will never exceed the level of your personal development. People often chase results without realizing that those results are simply a reflection of who they are. If you want better outcomes, you need to become a better version of yourself. It's not about chasing success in a frantic or desperate way. It's about focusing on growth so deeply and so consistently that success has no choice but to follow. That's the real secret. When you commit to growth, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and even physically, you begin to align your life with a higher standard. And when that happens, everything around you starts to shift. The right people begin to enter your life. The right opportunities start to appear. And your ability to handle challenges, take risks, and lead with confidence becomes stronger than ever before. People think success is something you chase down like a prize, but it's not. Success is something you attract by the person you become. The more you grow, the more you elevate your thinking, your habits, your self-committed, your discipline, the more your environment begins to reflect those internal changes. It's like tuning yourself to a frequency and suddenly you start picking up signals that were always there, you just weren't ready to receive them before. Growth prepares you for the things you've been asking for. If you receive success before you're ready, it will overwhelm you. But if you develop the capacity to carry the weight of your dreams, then when success comes, it feels natural. It feels earned. It feels sustainable. That's why working on yourself is never wasted time. It is the most valuable investment you can make. Real growth is not comfortable. It requires you to leave behind old patterns, let go of limiting beliefs, and often walk away from people or environments that no longer match your direction. It's a daily decision to push past who you were yesterday. Growth means showing up when it's hard, staying focused when you feel discouraged, and continuing to believe when there's no visible evidence of progress. Most people quit not because they lack talent, but because they lack patience with the process. Growth takes time, but what it builds in you is far more powerful than anything it can give you in the moment. You become someone who doesn't rely on outside validation because your confidence comes from within. You develop internal stability, and that makes you unshakable in the face of adversity. The beautiful part about growth is that once it becomes part of your identity, success begins to feel automatic. You no longer chase motivation because your standards pull you forward. You no longer rely on luck because your consistency creates opportunities. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone because your results speak for you. Growth creates a shift in how you move through life. You go from reacting to creating, from doubting to deciding, from waiting to building. Everything that once felt out of reach starts to feel natural because you've become the kind of person who aligns with that level of life. And that alignment is powerful. It brings peace, clarity, and direction. You stop needing shortcuts because you understand the value of process. You stop needing applause because you're driven by purpose. You stop living in survival mode because you've developed the tools to thrive. This is the true reward of growth, not just the success you earn, but the strength, wisdom, and self-respect you gain along the way. That transformation can't be bought, borrowed, or handed to you. It's built through time, repetition, struggle, and unwavering commitment. And once it's built, success no longer becomes a question of if, it becomes a matter of when. Because with growth as your foundation, every result you desire becomes a natural extension of who you are becoming.